So one of the first things you learn is correlation doesn't imply causation, which is like a big thing. So you see things that are correlated, like roosters crow and then the sun rises. Okay, so therefore, natural to think the sun rose because the rooster crowed. So obviously, we know that's not the case.
Our ultimate responsibility is to inform policy. You need to be able to say it's that program that actually led to that. That's what we mean by causality.
By its very nature, as social scientists, we have a hard time understanding what the effects of certain interventions are, because we don't get to see sort of the alternative view of history.
Often we're making inferences based on things that look like such robust correlations that they must be causing each other, and we get it wrong, spectacularly wrong.
So suppose you just correlated mother's education with child health, and we know it's a positive correlation. Does that mean a government or an NGO that wants to optimize child health should just have programs on improving women's education? You don't know that from that positive correlation, right? Because essentially women who are educated also come from affluent families. They have married an educated man. They live in a certain environment. All those factors could be determining that correlation. So that's why it's not causal.
Last year, I worked on a project with Cassie, who was interested in evaluating the Made in China 2025 industrial policy. It is hard to know what the effects of a China-wide industrial policy are. What Cassie worked out through the process of our work together is that this policy was initially piloted in a handful of cities, and the government had produced very detailed guidelines for what type of cities they were looking for. And she was able to compare the outcomes between cities that were part of the pilot and cities that looked very, very similar to these cities that were not part of the pilot program. The idea is that if these are similar based on things we can observe, they're likely also to be similar in all the ways in which we can't observe.
Economics is about the world. It's about understanding what's going on outside the window, but that's hard to do. So we try to educate people and we try to develop our tools ourselves that will allow us to park our biases and our beliefs at the door as much as we can and try to develop the truth.
When the research is not good and when it is driven more by ideology than by the high quality application of these methods, it is easier to call out. And because we have an accepted sort of bar for what constitutes solid empirical evidence, it is much easier to apply that bar in a standardized way across the different questions, no matter what ideologies they come from.